friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Pram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Welcome back to the program. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'll bring in the time now to exactly 3 minutes past the top of the hour. We should have Ms. Olayomi joining in any moment from now. But as I did say, information coming through is that the press conference it's going to be taking place this morning relating to Nicola Sturgeon, who is the First Minister of Scotland, who is set to be announcing her resignation. And as I said earlier on, I'll make sure that because of the update that we are bringing to you from Nigeria with Ms. Olayomi Kweke in our North London studios, we'll be bringing you the full length of her conversation or for her statement in the next few moments. So all that you have to do, just stay tuned and don't even think of touching the dial. Starr Radio UK, it is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. All right. So now, whilst we wait for Ms. Olayomi Kweke to join in, let's look at some of the stories making the rounds this morning here in the UK. Whilst we bring Ms. Olayomi Kweke joins in, and then we move on to some other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. As I did say, Nicola Sturgeon is to hold news conference where she is expected to confirm her resignation as Scotland's First Minister. We'll be bringing you a live clip of that. But still making the rounds, a boy and a girl have been charged with murdering Brian Greer. Okay, 2 15-year-olds have been charged with the murder of the 16-year-old who was stabbed in Warrington. Now, information coming through talks about the fact that it was due to the fact, I think it should be, let me tell you more about that. The transgender schoolgirl was found lying wounded on the path in Linear Park in Colchester, Cheshire on Saturday. Brianna's family said she was a much-loved daughter, granddaughter, and a baby sister. The girl from Warrington and the boy from Leigh are due to appear at Chester Magistrate Court later. Chester Police initially said there was no evidence that Brianna's killing was hate-related, but on Tuesday, detectives said all lines of inquiry were being explored, including hate crime. You reckon maybe that is what has brought about the death of this girl? I mean, I say it all the time. So far as you're not flaunting it in my face or pushing me to do so, you get on with your life, I get on with my life. But for you to go to that extent of killing her, and especially young kids like that, my goodness. Okay, well, it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, still in the UK. Now, Jeremy Corbyn won't be Labour's candidate at next elections, says Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer says Jeremy Corbyn will not be a Labour candidate at the next general election. Party leader Keir Starmer has said Mr. Corbyn was suspended from being a Labour MP and sits as an independent because of a row over anti-Semitism. Now, the former Labour leader had hoped to be readmitted so he can stand for re-election as a Labour candidate. But Keir said the party had changed under his leadership and we are not going back, adding that if others did not back him, they could leave. Now, Mr. Corbyn has previously declined to comment on speculations he might stand against Labour as an independent candidate in the Islington North constituency. On Wednesday, he again did not comment as he left his house. Okay, so we'll be telling you more about that Keir Starmer statement pertaining to the fate of Jeremy Corbyn when it comes to the next elections. But it is Starr Radio UK, the Wednesday edition of the morning show, and I can tell you that we've got Mr. Olayomi Kweke in, so we're going to be hopping straight to our North London studios to have the updates from Nigeria. But as I said, don't you worry, I'll bring you the full length of that press conference that is going to be coming your way from Scotland, Edinburgh this morning. Okay, so stay tuned, but let me say good morning to you, Yomi.
Well, a very good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning, Frank. Good morning to all our presenters and all our listeners from around the globe. And welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Starr Radio UK morning show.
Yes, how are you doing and how is the family as well?
Well, it is still the holiday period, so that means the family are doing very well. But they've actually all gone out, and then we are just, managing the situation, because sometimes we want to push them to the schools, but sometimes as well, they just want to be at home, with the family. But their family are doing very great. We give praise to Almighty God.
All right then. Yes. Thank you very much for that. Now, a quick one. Let's talk about what is happening in Scotland And because I want to link it up with what is happening in Nigeria when it comes to those who are agitating to break away from Nigeria. Now we take a typical example of Nicola Sturgeon and Alex Salmon, who were pushing for an agenda to get Scotland out of the Union. Now they tried. They went for the election. They lost the referendum. Okay, so after that, but we know that they've been trying to put few things together to still fight on. However, is it that because Nicola Sturgeon sees the whole situation as unsurmountable, that is why she is backing down? And would that make Nigerians also, I mean, those of you in the southwest and those of you in the southeast and the middle belt, think that look at Nicola Sturgeon, look at how strong, look at even how prominent and how powerful the economy of Scotland is. Yet somebody who was fighting for a cause like this eventually going to lay her tools down. Do you think they'll be thinking along those sides, or they think that no, this is a different ball game, let's go on with what we are doing?
Well, you're quite right. Scotland has been, trying to also come out of the union that they've had, with Great Britain. And it seems that our mind works together. And I'm just going to pull out quickly, what we were discussing up to yesterday regarding whether to be part of what is known as Scotland or as an independent country is better than being part of Great Britain. So in just about a few minutes, we might have, a background, that the engineer is working on. And as we know, and yet it goes, and what you have there is actually what it means. The true cost of the union. Is it better to be with this union that is costing you £4,279 a year, or with a total control of your natural resources through independence, your energy bill will be 451? I mean, it's just so clear. And this is, says again, Westminster doesn't work for Scotland. Power to Scotland through independence means cheaper energy bills for the Scottish people. Just as the Yoruba and the Biafra are saying that a new union without Nigeria will give us, our real identity. And let me quickly give you, we had a program run this morning before joining, the studio, and 28 advantage of having your own independent country, according to those that were putting out the comment. And quickly, because of our time: number 1, identity; number 2, a better life; number 3, culture and language; number 4, good judiciary that we're going to be discussing on, because the Supreme Court is saying they've now adjourned, the case between some of the governors. But do you know that the governor of Central Bank refused to abide by the rules that the Central Bank should hold on until there's a new order from the CBN? But it seems that Emefiele is just running his own. So people are saying that we do not have a good judiciary. We are suffering. As we speak today, in this headline coming up, there's a lot of protest that has now springed up in almost every part of Nigeria today. Good social service, human rights, indigenous Yorubas to have future for the generation to come, effective educational structure. 8 months, almost every Nigerian, regardless of your tribe, could not attend a good education because the university were completely shut down. Control over our borders. Today, we know that the borders is so porous that if you're traveling from one end to the other, you're likely to face consequence of that. Even those that are traveling into the country. I had one of our followers is in Nigeria right now, changing their ticket, making their way back because the current situation on the ground. But what about the millions of Yorubas and the Igbos, the Hausas, and the other ethnic groups? Where did they run to? Somebody talked about the health insurance, security and transport, no freedom of speech, Yoruba race glory, one language, free health services, free education, good agricultural, fire brigade, which is part of the social services, control of those foreign religion. A lot of people believe that the religion has literally done so much damage to the psyche of many Nigerians. And also, library services, our history, policy, and the last one is Yoruba Nation is a lifetime ambition. Starr Radio UK, 30 minutes past, and this is part of what we're going to be discussing later on advantage of having an independent country or keeping the same country and work with it to build it together.
Wow, listeners, interesting proposal there, and the topic that going to be looked at this evening. This evening too, quite an interesting one. But so, if the Supreme Court decides not to be, the Supreme Court have given a ruling earlier on before even these governors put their virtually appeal to the Supreme Court that they should stop the final day of the exchange of the the old Naira notes. And we thought that the federal government was going to adhere to it. Apparently, the federal government failed to adhere to it, and now the court has the Supreme Court has adjourned the case where that these 5 governors might have brought against the federal government and the CBN. So what is the federal government saying that they will adhere to the ruling of the Supreme Court if they rule? What ruling are they expecting the Supreme Court to rule again, apart from what I've even told them earlier on?
Well, the bank are not even listening. I mean, the government of the day, President Muhammadu Buhari, Central Bank will decide whether to obey the Supreme Court order today. That order have now been adjourned to the 22nd, which is 7 days from today. The Supreme Court has adjourned the hearing that was filed by Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara. More states are filing the same thing as well. So that means that we would have to wait again for the next 7 days to see what is going to happen. But the order that was meant to be inactive is currently not active because the banks are rejecting the Naira note. I'm talking about the old Naira note. And the reason for that is because the CBN, according to a caller this morning, that the son-in-law works in the bank, have literally issued a memo that no bank should be taking the old Naira note, even though there's a judgment that is still waiting, and that judgment has not come whether that should be done or not. So the question is, who actually listened to the rule of law? Is it the CBN or is it the law for one part of the country or the other? So there is a lot of chaotic situation that is currently present in Nigeria today. So the president says the position of the government and the CBN will be known upon the determination of the suit coming up, which was meant to be today, but that has been adjourned. But why then is the government not telling CBN that since there's a judgment going on, we must allow Nigerians to continue to spend, the old Naira note until the ruling comes back or disagree with it? But as we speak right now, more Nigerians have got the old Naira note. Their bank refused to take it. The petrol station refused to take it. The market traders refused to take it. Even though states like Kano State have also said that people must continue to spend that Naira note until further notice. And this is now becoming more pressure. All the callers from Nigeria today, during the program that we had at the early hours of this morning, have told me that they can't have access to the new Naira note, and the old Naira note is not accepted, and that is why there is all protest let loose in Nigeria. And as I speak to you right now, 5 different states are currently on protest. One bank has been burnt down in Delta State, Access Bank as is known.
Well, listeners, it's Starr Radio UK. Quite a worrying time there. But let me acknowledge Idowu John. He says, good morning, Starr Radio UK. Good morning, Mr. Koiki. Samsudin, good morning to you as well. He said, God bless you. Yoruba Nation, we won. Okay, but Yomi, what was the initial ruling of the Supreme Court? What did they say? What are some of the details that they said initially after when this case was brought?
Initially was that the currency must be put on hold. That means you are still allowed to use the old Naira note, which is the one behind me. But that is not what is happening in reality. I mean, the ruling says that nobody should be refused from spending the old Naira note. The banks must continue to accept it. But as I speak to you today, Wednesday 15th, the banks are not taking it. And the reason for that is the communique that is coming from the CBN is actually saying that no banks should accept the old Naira note, even though the Supreme Court have agreed that people can spend it until the ruling comes back to say no or yes. So this is what is creating the more chaos, where in Songo yesterday we saw the protest. But as of today, a bank has been burnt down in Delta State, more protests in Oyo State, more protests in other states as well. And the real reason is commercial activities have been grounded because of the scarcity of the new Naira note.
Well, sad time. But if you are in Nigeria listening to us, how many days more? In 10 days, the election would have held. Will be holding. It will be the 25th, and the election should go on. However, the Afenifere has warned the president. The Pan Yoruba socio-political organization Afenifere has again called on the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, to resist any temptation or pressure to force on Nigeria any form of change of government that is not a product of democratic process. Now, we talked about the fact that was it on Monday when one person was alluding that Atiku was having some meetings with some military generals, and therefore
and he has actually come out to say, well, we believe that he has been under a lot of interrogation from the DSS. That is Femi Kayode. He has actually come out to say he's apologizing for putting such statement outside there. But definitely, we do know that the DSS must have said some few things that he has to come out and bow. But yes, that's the leader of the Afenifere. It is the Yoruba Social Cultural Group. They've not endorsed Bola Tinubu. They have endorsed Peter Obi of the Labour Party. But a headline is coming back this morning. Remember that this elder statement says some few days ago that should Peter Obi not become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in this election, I mean, people have to vote. So, but they are probably saying that if he doesn't become the president, then forget about the United Nigeria and how will be the crisis that we should be expecting. But the headline this morning also says, resist interim government temptation. Remember that we have been saying that there's probability of coup. If I take you back to Niger Voices that we did, the few weeks ago, and we actually went through all these conversations, and those were that was the first month of February. On the 1st of February, let me give you what I said, and it seems that minds are working with some of our elder statements based on the intelligence that we are getting. I listed 5 reasons why election might be on hold as things are as it is right now. There's probability of a coup. That was even before Femi Kayode told us that Atiku is meeting with the military while election is about 12 days. I talked about 774 local government, 550 of such might not hold a proper election because of the insecurity. Yesterday we saw INEC, and 2 days ago telling us that 240 polling units in 28 states are not likely to conduct election because of the insecurity. We talked about the identity. The identity is what Afenifere is saying, that should we want to have peace, let us allow the Igbo to become the next president, and that will bring a united Nigeria. But that doesn't seem to be working. And this is what I said at number 4, interim government. We saw the same thing during Babangida. As Babangida was stepping aside, he kept Shoneko there, and Shoneko became the Fidihe, as the Yoruba will say, the interim government. Are we now seeing another interim government put in place as Buhari tenure is almost elapsing because of everything that is happening? Could the military be taking over Nigeria because of this crisis that they created in the first place by the government? The Pan-Yoruba Social Political Organization, Afenifere, has again called on President Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, to resist any temptation or pressure to foster on Nigeria any form of change of government that is not a product of democratic practice. Could we be saying that the same thing I said on the 1st of February is about to take place when we were having Niger Voices? Tonight is going to be another fantastic event. We don't have enough time this morning, but we have the ample of 2.5 hours to discuss the way forward as Nigeria goes to poll. I'll come back again to you in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Well, listeners, Starr Radio UK, you cannot get any of this anywhere except on Starr Radio UK. And last Yomi said this evening, exactly at 18 hours GMT, that is in Nigeria, it will be GMT +1. Yes, that program will be coming your way, Niger Voices, and we'll have ample time to look into all the details of that story. But let's come back to Yomi once again. Now, are the campaigns going on at the moment? Are the campaigns still going on at the moment?
Well, the campaign is actually winding down, and behind us are the, all the political gladiator for this upcoming election, which is coming up in the next 12 days, should everything goes as planned. We have Kwankwaso there, we have Tinubu there, we have Atiku, Peter Obi, even though Showore has been missing, but we know that Showore is still contesting as well. Campaign is winding down, and the reason for that is, campaign also has a timeline before the election. So everybody is now finishing up with their campaign in all their state, and all they are doing now is stakeholder conversation, and that is still bringing a lot of pressure on the table, as we know this morning. So if anybody, is still doing any campaign, that is currently being wound down as we speak right now. So let me just give us some of the quick headline coming from the election 2023. Election, Nigeria must protect democracy, says group. Resist temptation, resist interim government. Temptation, Afenifere tells Buhari. Election, NEF raises concerns over violence in the southeast. And we're going to talk a bit of Simon Ekpa, because it looks like the Nigerian government is becoming more concerned that they've now called the attention of the Finnish embassy to speak, the Finnish ambassador in an engagement to, Simon Ekpa issuing statement from Finland that, election is not going to hold. But from their ambassador conversation is also saying that as much as they've got 60 years of relationship with Nigeria, Simon Ekpa also has a right, because under the human right, he has the right, but they will look into according to their own law. And as you can tell, Simon Ekpa, was also responding back, to that statement, since yesterday, and which we're going to bring out in just about a few minutes as well. But going back again, U-turn, INEC to keep sensitive election materials with the CBN. Election, no reason to doubt INEC, says NEF spokesman. So as they say, Gary don't pass water, as a lot of people are looking up to what will be the outcome in the next 12 days to this election. And as I said earlier, Simon Ekpa actually responded back, to what, the Nigerian government calling the foreign, minister, calling on to the ambassador yesterday in Abuja. And he also says, we call the attention of the international observer coming to Nigeria to observe their fraud that Biafra is not and will not be part of Nigeria election. For almost 2 years, Biafran has continued to pass vote of no confidence on those representing Nigeria presently in Biafra. So you can see that there's still a lot of engagement going on. And as I said, we'll have to wait in the next few more days to see what takes place. Starr Radio UK, I'll come back again to you in the studio as 2023 general election is getting more closer and it's becoming more interesting as there's more pressure in the country.
Well, listeners, with everything that is going on in Nigeria at the moment, would you want to go to the polls to go and vote on the 25th of February? Are you going to be doing that? Somebody will say, I'm thinking about it. Somebody will say that Gary passed water, so now it's all concrete. You cannot go nowhere. But what do you think about all that coming your way from Starr Radio UK? Mr. Olayomi Koike in our North London studios. I'm actually here in the South studios, and we are bringing you all that you need to know. All right, then. One other story. Now, on Simon Ekpa, you remember they put a bounty. I don't know whether it's the federal government that put a bounty on his head. Now, what
not
has
the federal government is just another social cultural group in the Southeast, not the federal government.
Okay. My apologies. It's not the federal government that put a bounty on him, but another social cultural group. Now, what was the cause of that? Do they think that maybe he's not singing from the same hymn sheet like them? That's why they're behaving that way?
Well, there's a lot of fraction, just as we have it in the Yoruba Nation movement, where, the illusion that, Yoruba people have got a country, even though Professor Adebanji Akintoye have said there's no country yet. We are still, dialoguing, we are still engaging, and everything that will give us, our own, freedom from Nigeria. And we have the same thing happening within the Biafrans, where, some disagree, with the views and the manners of, what they call the autopilot. The autopilot, are the ones that are controlling most of the, narrative, and that also is against those that are the doors. So there's two fractions, but there's also different internal wrangling within, the Southeast as well that disagree that, it is the chance of Peter Obi, the Igbo from Southeast to be endorsed by all the Biafrans. Some have actually followed Peter Obi, but the majority disagree. And just like Simon Ekpa say, that for 2 years, they've had vote of no confidence to their representative in Nigeria.
Well, listen, let's start ready. Okay, before I go to Yomi for the rest of the story that he has, some information coming through. Atiku has said that for the second time yesterday, presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, stated that he remains the stepping stone to Igbo achieving their dream of producing president of Nigeria, insisting that his party was poised to winning the 2023 general election. So maybe if he wins the election, then he just go for one term, and then his vice president, who hails from the southeast, would then be put in the place to become the
You're
president.
looking for power. You put everything out there. You put whatever. Even you can say, if you want to have my mom to stay with you for 3 weeks, I can I can give you my mom.
Sell everything, anything.
This is the time that politics becomes whatever it is in that part of the world where everything is sold out. And as you said, Atiku, I've said such. I don't think people like Wike believes him, because Wike says Atiku has been a man that goes around different skirts. It hasn't been stable in PDP, and Wike believes that he hasn't left the party and he should have been given that opportunity. But Atiku believes that allow me to run, probably maybe the first time, and I'll give over. But maybe after the first time, he might say, let me complete the second time, but I will make sure that Igbo becomes the next president as well. Also, there's from the Yoruba side, Femi Gbajabiamila, also says Naira scarcity created to stop Tinubu from winning presidential election. Buhari CBN with this. So it seems that, within the political parties, especially the major ones, they are blaming each other to say that, the reason that, the support is not coming is because, somebody within the, the government has changed the color of the Naira, and it's becoming more pressure to Nigerians, which is not, a funny situation, because especially those, that are in dear need. I was speaking to one of my mom friends that just returned from Nigeria. She could not get her money out of the bank before she left Nigeria.
So assuming when you are in Nigeria, I remember back in the day, I think a few months ago, they did say that when money is sent to you, so assuming you remit money from SendWave to somebody, are they able to take it in pounds, or they'll have to take it in naira?
Well, I mean, the bank doesn't have the dollar, so it's easier that we are told that when you send out money, you get it in dollar. You will not be able to get it in dollar. You will be getting it in naira, and if you need a dollar, you will have to go to the black market to change it.
Wow, listeners, that is for your ears only. But it is now 11:30. Let's go back to Yomi for the rest of the stories making the rounds. Over to you, Yomi.
Just briefly, because of our time constraint this morning, once again, this is Starr Radio UK, and it is the finest African. Gridlock, again, as tanker crash on Alaka Bridge. I've seen that images, and again, the question is, what more can be done, to avoid these kind of accident happening on the broad daylight? And right there you can see, I mean, these are heavy loaded 40-foot container, and if these have actually fallen on top of a vehicle that is also next to it, you can imagine we'll be talking about another death happening in Nigeria this particular day. So we keep continue to monitor that as we speak. Contempt, EFCC kick as CSO demand Bauer's removal. The head of the EFCC, has been having a lot of issues, with the Nigerian security. Over 120 anti-corruption civil society organizations have now called for the removal of the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdulrasheed Bauer, for what the term is alleged politicization of the agency, disobedience of the court orders, infringement on human rights on Nigerians. And again, if I go back to what we were discussing this morning, I think I can always give you human right was number 7, contempt of the disobey of the court order, and that is number 4, no good judiciary. And I think the last one is also, the politicization, and that shows that the nepotism. The CSO in the petition on Tuesday demanded that the EFCC chairman must now be sacked. There have been series of protests, rallies by the CSO calling for Bauer removal. As the EFCC elsewhere, the CSO had demanded that Bauer to be sent to prison for contempt of court. I'm not sure that is going to happen because, again, it's got the backing of the presidency. Christian youth march against electoral violence in Imo State. Imo has been a very, very tough one in the last, a few months, and also Anambra State. Soludo is doing, what it can do also to get Nnamdi Kanu out of the custody of the, of the presidency of the federal government. But we are not sure whether that is going to work anytime soon. So let us look at some of what is trending quickly on the social media. But tonight at Niger Voices, we would have ample of time to discuss again, Nigeria election, the way forward, and the indigenous people as well. So once again, this is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Like I said, a lot of protest is happening from Ibadan. Federal government and the CBN is trending. Also, My 12, which is where this container has actually dropped, is also trending as we speak right now. The Road Transport Union, assisted by some protesters, have blocked Songo Eleyele Road in Ibadan, preventing movement along the axis. Their agitation is about the scarcity of the cash and the old note ceasing to be a legal tender. So quite a lot is happening. Also, we know, there's also any other part as well that is also having a lot of problems. So let us now take a look at, Nigeria as a whole, this morning as we continue to look into all the situation. Again, Simon Ekpa, you would talk Biafra by force. We told you people that when the time comes, you'll be forced to report about the Biafra freedom. Whether you like it or not, you don't have the choice. The Biafra exit will become a reality after this month. Also, I'm just looking at the Benjamin Odonye is, the spokesman for the Lagos State, is actually saying RIP to independent thinker, head mentality everywhere. And also, it seems that people are saying Dr. Shola Shugbamu is saying Nicolas Sojon is resigning. What the hell is happening? And it seems that there's quite a lot happening. We saw, was it the Australian Prime Minister that also resigned?
New Zealand. New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand.
Yeah.
Sorry, resigned some few weeks ago as well. And the last one coming on the headline as well from here, Bashegun is also one of the leader of the Yoruba nation right here in UK, and also the leader of the Ilana Omodua UK. He actually posted some few posts as he does all the time. He has a letter that he has already put out on his chain.org, to the UK Parliament. Yoruba, by being the oldest civilization in the world, deserves an independent nation status. And he's asking people to sign that petition as well. He also said yesterday, according to him, Article 4 of the United Nations Charter contains rules of admission for United Nations membership. The only requirement is the judgment of the organization. An applicant will be admitted if the Security Council and the General Assembly was convinced it ought to be admitted. Up to us to convince them. And it's actually talking to the Yoruba people. And the last one is, when Britain created Nigeria in 1914, it gave its reasons for doing so. Britain said that it created Nigeria for the purpose of relieving the British taxpayers of the financial burden of the northern Nigeria. When Nigerian ruling class took over on the 1st of October 1960, they gave no reason for Nigerians' continuing existence. Their position was, and it still is, that Britain created a good thing that must not be tampered with. We Yoruba people disagree. We Yoruba were not asked by the British in 1914 whether we wanted to be part of Nigeria. In 1960, and since Nigerians' ruling class has not asked us whether we wish to remain a part of Nigeria, we say today clearly and loudly, we do not want to continue to be part of Nigeria. Starr Radio UK. It is the finest African and the Caribbean radio station in London.
Well, listeners, Mr. Olayomi Koiki bringing you updates from Nigeria. And we're going to be running up the conversation because of time. But Yomi, what did you say we are looking at this evening once again?
So we again continue to look at the way forward out of Nigeria. Is it going to be election that will give us the peace, or is it going to be the dissolution of Nigeria? So way forward out of Nigeria is the conversation tonight. Way forward, the way forward out of Nigeria. Since election is coming, some people believe that election will still give us the peace and hope. Some say, just as Bashigun, that nobody asked us whether we want to be part of the British, creation of Nigeria. So we'll have to look into all these later on.
Okay, Yomi, let me say thank you very, very much for another wonderful update from there.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Okay, listeners, it is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I bring it the time now to 11:38. Let's take a quick commercial break. We come back and we continue with the program because we are pressed with time. And as I did say earlier on, I'll be bringing you Nicholas Sturgeon's statement pertaining to his resignation this morning as the first Minister of Scotland. So stay tuned, don't you go away.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medase.
Welcome back to the program, Star Radio UK. 21 minutes to the end of the program. And let me quickly just go through some of the other stories making the rounds, and then we can bring you the press statement that Nicholas Sturgeon has made this morning. We'll bring you the full coverage of that to you so that you don't miss out on anything. But for now, let's quickly go around and look at what other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Now, Tunisia's arrest has sparked fears of escalation. Information coming through. Wave of arrests by Tunisian security forces has sparked fears that President Kais Saied is resorting to tougher measures against his opponents in the crisis-hit birthplace of the 2011 Arab upsprings. Now, the latest arrests included senior figures in the Islamist-inspired Ennahda party come a year and a half after Said sacked the government, froze parliament, and seized far-reaching powers in what his rivals have described as a coup. Now, while a number of Said's opponents have since been questioned or placed on trial in military courts, the arrest since Saturday of the head of the country's most popular radio station and prominent businessman, along with several other public figures, appear to mark an escalation. The country is facing a grave crisis, said political analyst Abdelatif Hanachi, saying the circumstances around the arrest were very murky. The president has become obsessed with using the security forces, Hanachi added, and that is coming away from Tunisia. President Said. Now, IFAD seeks to strengthen economic support to Somalia, as another story making the rounds there as well. And he says that as Somalia continues to experience a historic drought, pushing millions of Somalians into acute food insecurity, the International Fund for Agricultural Development announced today that it will substantially strengthen its support to Somalia and resume its direct investment after loan arrears resulted in a 3-decade-long suspension. Speaking during the IFAD's 46th session of Governing Council, President Alvaro Lario said this comes at a critical time when Somalia is facing critical challenges to its food security. So coming away from Star Radio, okay? It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And Kenyan senator ejected from parliament over alleged period stain. And that is, I know if this is part of the world where we are looking at all these stories, the Kenyan senator is reported to have been sacked from parliament after attending a session while wearing a white suit stained red in apparent menstrual activism campaign. Now, Gloria Owoba of the ruling coalition is due to table a motion on a bill to provide free sanitary pads on Wednesday as part of efforts to end period poverty. Now, according to reports, senators disrupted Tuesday's afternoon session to draw the speaker's attention to Ms. Oroba's inappropriate dress code. But the senator protested, saying, "I am shocked that someone can stand here and say that the house has been disgraced because a woman has had her periods." Well, it is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, moving on straight to Ghana as well, looking at some of the stories there. Now, Fitch has downgraded Ghana's credit worthiness to deeper junk status, assigns restricted default to government bonds. Is one of the stories making the rounds there as well. International rating agency Fitch Ratings has downgraded Ghana's credit worthiness to further junk status. In its latest report on Ghana, it said Fitch Ratings downgraded Ghana's long-term local currency issuers default ratings to restricted default from C. It attributed the downgrade to the decision by government to embark on the debt exchange program and the recent default on local bonds that matured on February 6, 2023, and another one which is due for payment this week. Now, the downgrade of Ghana's local currency denominated debt follows the completion of a domestic debt exchange offered by the Republic of Ghana. The transaction is an element of the recovery program for which the government is seeking the support of the International Monetary Fund for a 3-year extended credit facility of about 3 billion. Now, Fitch also affirmed Ghana's long-term foreign currency, that is IDR, at C, saying Fitch typically does not assign ratings outlooks to sovereigns with the ratings of CCC plus or below. All right then, so let's see, are we in CCC or what? We are in C now, so downgraded further. Well. In reaction to some of the blames that is being hung on to him, the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, is reported to have chastised the heads of state-owned institutions whose agencies are non-performing. According to a report by the Chronicle newspaper, the president said that he and his ministerial appointees are always blamed for the bad performance of the economy, while heads of states entities who are also responsible are overlooked. Akufo-Addo added that the heads of state institutions can no longer hide when it comes to the performance of Ghana's economy. Now, board chairs and entity heads have for a long time been overlooked when blame is being apportioned for the downturn in Ghana's economic fortunes, with the flack going largely to sector ministers and Mr. President. You can no longer stay in the shadows while others receive the backlash for the nation's current problem. He is quoted to have said while delivering a keynote address at the Maiden State Interests and Governance annual stakeholders meeting held over the weekend at Kwewu Abetifi in the Eastern region. The report indicated that the president, Akufo-Addo, could not understand why state enterprises contribute less than 5% of Ghana's gross domestic product. Really? He's been a minister of state for quite a long time before becoming the leader of the opposition and now becoming the president. And he said he doesn't know why, because no one is held accountable. Anything that is for me, myself, is our this, and then they just continue to waste funds and spend monies that they're not supposed to. And get it, not getting the nation what it really need. Value for money. That's what I'm trying to put across there. But in reaction to the IMF's response to getting Ghana to a place where they can give them this grant or this not a grant, that loan or financial support thing that they need, the International Monetary Fund has assigned a resident advisor in financial sector supervision to Bank of Ghana to provide technical assistance and to assist in building the capacity of the banking supervision function. The move was at the request of Bank of Ghana and fully funded by Switzerland State Secretariat for Economic Affairs. So the advisor's placement is a continuation of a cooperation between Bank of Ghana, the IMF and SECO, which commenced in 2015 and has already seen the assignment of a previous advisor until 2018. Achievements from the past collaborative efforts include the passage of the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act 2016, Act 930, the development and issuance of the Corporate Governance Directive 2018 and the Capital Requirement Directive of 2018. A statement issued by the Secretary to the Bank of Ghana, Sandra Thompson, said the advisor, Mr. Leonard Chumo, brings first-hand knowledge of supervisory work from leading central banks as well as previous technical assistance experience in the West Africa region. Mr. Chumo's 3-year assignment commenced on the 6th of February 2023. Now let's move on to other parts of the world and let's look at some of the stories making the rounds there. As I said, here in the UK, Nicola Sturgeon has announced her resignation, but we'll be taking you there. I'll be bringing you all that you need to know pertaining to that. Detectives to give updates on investigation into Nicola Belly's disappearance in Lancashire. It's one of the stories making the rounds this morning. But I remember those Thai boys who were swept under some is it some canals or whatever thing, or Thai caves. One of them who was rescued has died. Now, Thai cave rescue Dwang Pech Promthep, Wild Boys captain, dies in UK. What brought about his death? A very young boy, handsome young boy. Now, Dwang Pech, one of the 12 boys who was rescued from Thai cave in 2018, has died in the UK. The 17-year-old was found unconscious in his dorm in Leicestershire on Sunday and taken to hospital, where he died on Tuesday. Now, he had been enrolled in a football academy in the UK since last year. Now, he was captain of the Thai boys football team, which was trapped deep inside a cave for over 2 weeks while exploring in Chiang Rai province. Now, his grieving face, caught by the touchlight of a diva after the boys were found in the cave, was one of the most memorable images from the rescue. But how many years on? 5 years on, and he has passed on. It is not known how the teenager died, but Leicestershire police said his death is not being treated as suspicious. Reports in Thailand said he suffered a head injury. In August last year, his teammates rejoiced with Promthep, who they call Dom, announced on Instagram that he had won a scholarship to join the Brookhouse College Football Academy in Market Harbour. Okay. Now, today, my dream has come true, he wrote at the time. But just 6 months on, they are mourning the loss of their friend. A sad one there, a sad one there. Starr Radio UK, a favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, Russian journalist Maria Ponomarenko has been jailed for highlighting Mariupol killings. Is a story that's making the rounds there as well. Russian journalist Maria Ponomarenko has been jailed for 6 years for posting on social media about a deadly attack by Russian warplanes on a theater in Ukraine. The court in Brno in Siberia found her guilty of spreading fake news and law introduced aimed at stifling dissent about the invasion of Ukraine. She was also barred from activities as a journalist for 5 years. Now, hundreds of civilians died when Mariupol theater was bombed last March. Now, Ponomarenko was detained last April, weeks after the bombing, for posting that Russian warplanes had carried out the attacks, even though the Russian Defense Ministry had denied it. Now, she is one of the growing number of Russian dissidents jailed for criticizing the war in Ukraine. Come next week, Friday, it will be exactly a year when that invasion took place. And information coming through is saying that, well, it seems that Russia is preparing to attack. But how true is that? Okay. So come your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. One more story from other parts of the world, and then we'll move on. Now, China's spy balloon, 3 unidentified objects, possibly benign, says the U.S. The story says the White House has said that there is no indication 3 flying objects blasted out of the sky over the weekend by the U.S. military are linked to alleged Chinese spying. The objects may be tied to commercial or research entities and therefore benign, spokesman John Kirby said. Now, U.S. and Canadian officials have not yet located or recovered any wreckage from the 3 downed aircraft. Now, Beijing earlier accused the U.S. of a trigger-happy overreaction. Now, China has denied one of its balloons, which was destroyed by a U.S. fighter jet earlier this month off South Carolina, was being used for espionage, saying it was merely a weather monitoring airship that had blown off course. Now, at Tuesday's daily news conference, Mr. Kirby said it will be difficult to determine the purpose or origin of the 3 other objects that were destroyed over Alaska, Canada, and Michigan until the debris is found and analyzed. Well, so that brings us to the end of that one as well. And I'm moving on straight here to the UK front. As I did say, politics is brutal, says Nicola Sturgeon as she resigns. Scotland's First Minister says she has been wrestling with the question of her future for some weeks, but now was the time to go. And I'm going to bring you the full clip of her press statement in a moment. But Corbyn won't be Labour candidate. That's what Keir Starmer is saying. And he said that they got a point where there is not going to be a U-turn, the decision that they've made. So he is going to, if he has to stand as an independent candidate. Because at the moment, he stands as an independent candidate after he was sacked or suspended. Is it suspended or sacked? Suspended from the Labour previously declined party, okay, but saying that he's not going to be standing on a ticket of Labour. But when he stands against any Labour candidate, I bet you he's going to win, won't he? Because he's very popular. Though not popular with everybody, but he's popular with some others. Now, Defence Secretary Ben Wallace has said the country has to start investing in defence properly as he defended the UK military readiness for war. He said the army had been hollowed out over 30 years and the Ukraine war had exposed our vulnerabilities. Mr. Wallace said he wanted a bigger budget amid reports he's asking for a £10 billion rise. UK and European officials have raised concerns over the state of British armed forces. Malcolm Chalmers, British defense expert who advises MPs on national security, said the UK military will run our ammunition in days if we face a war such as the ones of the Ukrainians are facing right now. Now, why did I say come to say that? Because once you start to say that, people think, they are ill prepared for any attack. So now let's get on with it. But what do you think about all that? So coming your way from Starr Radio UK, it is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where I bring the program to a close, and I'm just going to take you straight to some of the information that has come from Nicola Sturgeon. Stay tuned and don't you go away. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Sorry to break into your half-term break. Being First Minister of Scotland is, in my admittedly biased opinion, the very best job in the world. It is a privilege beyond measure, one that has sustained and inspired me in good times and through the toughest hours of my toughest days. I am proud to stand here as the first female and longest serving incumbent of this office. And I'm very proud of what has been achieved in the years I've been in Bute House. However, since my very first moments in the job, I have believed that part of serving well would be to know, almost instinctively, when the time is right to make way for someone else. And when that time came, to have the courage to do so, even if to many across the country and in my party, it might feel too soon. In my head and in my heart, I know that time is now, that it is right for me, for my party, and for the country. And so today I am announcing my intention to step down as First Minister and leader of my party. I have asked the National Secretary of the SNP to begin the process of electing a new party leader, and I will remain in office until my successor is elected. I know there will be some across the country who feel upset by this decision and by the fact I am taking it now. Of course, for balance, there will be others who will, how should I put this, cope with the news just fine. Such is the beauty of democracy. But to those who do feel shocked, disappointed, perhaps even a bit angry with me, please know that while hard, and be in no doubt, this is really hard for me, my decision comes from a place of duty and of love. Tough love, perhaps, but love nevertheless for my party and above all for the country. Let me set out as best as I can my reasons. First, though I know it will be tempting to see it as such, this decision is not a reaction to short-term pressures. Of course, there are difficult issues confronting the government just now, but when is that ever not the case? I have spent almost 3 decades in frontline politics, a decade and a half on the top or second top rung of government. When it comes to navigating choppy waters, resolving seemingly intractable issues, or soldiering on when walking away would be the simpler option, I have plenty of experience to draw on. So if this was just a question of my ability or my resilience to get through the latest period of pressure, I wouldn't be standing here today. But it's not. This decision comes from a deeper and longer term assessment. I know it might seem sudden, but I have been wrestling with it, albeit with oscillating levels of intensity for some weeks. Essentially, I've been trying to answer 2 questions. Is carrying on right for me? And more importantly, is me carrying on right for the country, for my party, and for the independence cause I have devoted my life to? I understand why some will automatically answer yes to that second question. But in truth, I have been having to work harder in recent times to convince myself that the answer to either of them, when examined deeply, is yes. And I've reached the difficult conclusion that it's not. The questions are inextricably linked, but let me try. First Minister for over 8 years, and I was Deputy First Minister for the best part of 8 years before that. These jobs are a privilege, but they are also rightly hard, and especially in the case of First Minister, relentlessly so. Now, to be clear, I'm not expecting violins here, but I am a human being as well as a politician. When I entered government in 2007, my niece and youngest nephew were babies, just months old. As I stepped down, they are about to celebrate their 17th birthdays. Now that I think about it, that's exactly the age to be horrified at the thought of your auntie suddenly having more time for you. My point is this: giving absolutely everything of yourself to this job is the only way to do it. The country deserves nothing less. But in truth, that can only be done by anyone for so long. For me, it is now in danger of becoming too long. A First Minister is never off duty, particularly in this day and age. There is virtually no privacy. Even ordinary stuff that most people take for granted, like going for a coffee with friends or for a walk on your own, becomes very difficult. And the nature and form of modern political discourse means that there is a much greater intensity, dare I say it, brutality to life as a politician than in years gone by. All in all, and actually for a long time without it being apparent, it takes its toll on you and on those around you. If that is true in the best of times, it has been more so in recent years. Leading this country through the COVID pandemic is by far the toughest thing I've done. It may well be the toughest thing I ever do. I certainly hope so. Now, by no stretch of the imagination was my job the hardest in the country during that time. The weight of responsibility was immense. And it's only very recently, I think, that I've started to comprehend, let alone process the physical and mental impact of it on me. So what I'm really saying is this. If the only question was, can I battle on for another few months, then the answer is yes, of course I can. But if the question is, can I give this job everything it demands and deserves for another year, let alone for the remainder of this parliamentary term, give it every ounce of energy that it needs in the way that I have strived to do every day for the past 8 years, the answer, honestly, is different. And as that is my conclusion, hard though it has been for me to reach it, then given the nature and scale of the challenges the country faces, I have a duty to say so now. I feel that duty first and foremost to our country to ensure that it has the energy of leadership that it needs, not just today, but through the years that remain of this parliamentary term. And right now, in a very particular sense, I feel that duty to my party too. We are at a critical moment. The blocking of our referendum as the accepted constitutional route to independence is a democratic outrage. But it puts the onus on us to decide how Scottish democracy will be protected and to ensure that the will of the Scottish people prevails. My preference of using the next Westminster election as a de facto referendum is well known. I've never pretended it is perfect, no second best option ever is, nor that there are no alternatives. That is why I've always been clear that the decision must be taken by the SNP collectively, not by me alone. But I know my party well enough to understand that my view as leader would carry enormous, probably decisive weight when our conference meets next month. And I cannot, in good conscience, ask the party to choose an option based on my judgment, whilst not being convinced that I would be there as a leader to see it through. By making my decision clear now, I free the SNP to choose the path it believes to be the right one, without worrying about the perceived implications for my leadership, and in the knowledge that a new leader will steer us, I believe, successfully on that path. Now, there are two further reflections that have weighed in my decision. These, I suppose, are more about our political culture and the nature and impact of the dominance and longevity that come from success in politics. And the first, I hope my party will take heart from. One of the difficulties in coming to terms with this decision is that I am confident that I can and would lead the SNP to further electoral success. We remain by far the most trusted party in Scotland. And while for every person in Scotland who loves me, there is another who, let's say, might not be quite so enthusiastic, we are firmly on course to win the next election, while our opponents remain adrift. But the longer any leader is in office, the more opinions about them become fixed and very hard to change. And that matters. Individual polls come and go, but I am firmly of the view that there is now majority support for independence in Scotland. But that support needs to be solidified, and it needs to grow further if our independent Scotland is to have the best possible foundation. To achieve that, we must reach across the divide in Scottish politics. And my judgment now is that a new leader will be better able to do this. Someone about whom the mind of almost everyone in the country is not already made up, for better or worse. Someone who is not subject to quite the same polarised opinions, fair or unfair, as I now am. The good news, as the country will now get to see more clearly perhaps, is that the SNP is full of talented individuals more than up to that task. My second reflection is related. I feel more and more each day now that the fixed opinions people increasingly have about me, as I say, some fair, others little more than caricature, are being used as barriers to reasoned debate in our country. Statements and decisions that should not be controversial at all quickly become so. Issues that are controversial end up almost irrationally so.
UK.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave